Hello everyone. This week's Parasha is Parashat Pinchas. Candlelighting for New York City is 8:09, and Shabbat tomorrow will be over by 9:18. Okay, and the Haftarah, we read the regular Haftarah, and like we know, the 3 weeks started, which means we don't listen to music, and we don't say Shechian on the new things. If a person has to wear something new, he could say Shechianu on Shabbat, and you should save it for till Shabbat and then say Shechianu on Shabbat. I'd like to say a few words for Parashat Pinchas. It says in this week's Parashat, Tzaroret Midyani v'hikite motam, which means you should you should go to war with Midyanim. You should harass Midyanim and smite them. So now, like we know, usually Torah says when a person goes to a war, you shouldn't go and fight, and you should always try to find peace. But in this case, when it came to Midian, however, Hashem changes the rules, and Hashem instructs Moshe to harass and smite Midyanim without offering a possibility of peace. Now, the Midrash points out, and he says that usually there are many nations who did troubles to Jewish people, like we know Edom, Egypt, and still the Torah says, it says Lo Teta'ev Edomi, it says Lo Teta'ev Mitzri, which means you should not reject Edom, a nation of Edom. You should not reject Egyptians. So why Midyanim? Why Midian? The Midianite people considered worse than Edom and Egyptians? That's the question. Why is Edom? Why is Midian? The Torah says go and fight them and harass them and smite them. Like why? Why is it different than Egyptians and Edomites? So Midrash answers like this: that there's a big difference between Edom and Edomites, Egyptians and Moab, and Midian. What's the difference? Difference is that Edom and Edomites and Egyptians, even though they treated us, maybe not good, like Egyptians made us slave, but all this was a physical work. However, the Midyanim, they were trying to rob us, both for both worlds, which means Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. Why? Because they caused us to sin. When the Jewish people were in the desert, they sent ladies, so the Jewish men should go in and sin with them, and like this, a lot of people died. 24,000 people died in the desert because of this sins, which means they caused us to sin. They wanted us to sin. So not only do they want us to be destroyed physically, but also spiritual destruction. And like this, and we therefore commanded to have no mercy, to have no mercy on them, on the Midyanim, and to harass and kill them as many Midyanim as possible. Now it's interesting. The Midrash says, and Midrash continues, and it goes and it proves that a person who takes mercy on a nation that Hashem commands us to attack without pity ends up paying a steep price. Now how? Midrash brings a story that Ammon was a nation during we know there's Ammon and Moab. So it says during David HaMelech's time, the king of Ammon, he died. His name was Nachash. So David HaMelech decided to send a delegation to offer condolences to Nachash's son. His name was Hanan. so now the Midyanim, the Torah says, just like by Midyanim, the Torah prohibits us from positive contact with the nation of Ammon and Moab. Like it says, you should not seek their peace and welfare all your days, forever. But David HaMelech, he did send his advisors. He sent a whole delegation to send condolences to Hanan, the son of Nachash. What happened? This Hanan, he took this delegation. He cut their beard into half. Okay, half of their beard, and also he cut their clothing. He tore their clothing into half, and he sent them back, which means to show that he, to show that he did not want it, and he showed to David HaMelech, I don't need your condolences, I don't need you. And on top of this, he got a general to go and fight and to make a whole army and to go and fight with Jewish people, with Israel. What happened was that there was a war. At the end, of course, Nachash, the Hanan, the Ammon, the king of Ammon, they lost the war, but still, the Midrash says this was a punishment to David HaMelech, meaning David HaMelech, why are you seeking their peace? Torah says, that's it. The Torah says you cannot outsmart the Torah. You cannot outsmart the Torah, and that's why, and that's why that was like a punishment to David HaMelech. Now, there is a story from a modern time, that happened with Rav Moshe Feinstein. Rav Moshe Feinstein, before he immigrated to America, he was a Rav in Russia, and in that community there was a Moser. Okay, he was an informer, which means he would go and he would inform on Jewish people, to the government all the time, and he would get Jewish people into trouble. And before that Moser, before that informer, before that Moser, before he passed away, he took a letter and he sent it to Chevra Kadisha, the one who's in charge of burying. And what happened was, this Moser, he died. They opened the letter and they find that there was a will that he had, and his will was that he says, I know I did bad things to Jewish people, and I want like kapara for my sins, and for that reason I want that my body should be, it should be treated like a donkey, meaning you should hit it, and you should not bury me properly, and you should not bury me in the Jewish cemetery, rather outside of Jewish cemetery, because I want this to be a kapara for me. Okay, so Chevra Kadisha, they don't know what to do. Should they follow the instructions or not? So they come to Rav Moshe Feinstein, and Rav Moshe saw this and he said, "Listen, according to Halacha, you're not allowed to do all this." No, Chevra Kadisha says, "What do you mean? It's he wants kapara, he wants atonement for his soul for all the bad things that he did." So Rav Moshe said, "No, halacha is halacha. We're going to follow the halacha." So they came to, Rav Moshe instructed them to bury him like any other Jew in the Jewish cemetery. So they followed the Rav, they followed the Rav, they followed Rav Moshe Feinstein, and they buried him in the cemetery, in the Jewish cemetery, like properly, like any other Jew. After some time, after 3 weeks, a government came. Suddenly a government comes and they told Chevra Kadisha, "Come, we want you to show us where is this Moser buried? Where is this informer? Where is he buried? Show us." Okay, they showed him that he's buried in this Jewish cemetery. Oh, they were surprised. Oh, he's buried in Jewish cemetery? Okay. Now they commanded, we want to open up the grave. They opened up the grave. They see the person is buried nicely. Everything is nice. Okay. They closed the grave and they left. Now they understood from this that this Moser, this informer, he did not want to do tshuva. He wrote a letter to a government telling them that Jewish people are not going to bury me properly. They're going to, because I always informed on them, I always gave them to the government, and therefore they're not going to bury me properly. And therefore he asked them, listen, I want you to go. I want you to go and check how are they going to bury me. So he wanted really to get Jewish people in trouble even after his death. He wanted Jewish people to be in trouble. And what saved Jewish community? Following the halacha. Like Shlomo HaMelech said, Al ti tzadik harbeh, don't be too righteous. Which means what? You got to follow the halacha. Whatever halacha says, whatever the Torah says, this is what you got to follow. Sometimes we try to outsmart the Torah. The Torah says, we see from here, like Hashem says, you don't outsmart the Torah. You don't outsmart the halacha. You follow the halacha. Whatever the halacha says, this is what you follow. And in order to know what the halacha says, you have to learn. You have to have a Rebbe, and you have to ask, and you have to have a Dat Torah. And like this, you will always know what to do. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.